G'day, ZiggyD here. Crack your knuckles and whip out your black leather gloves because in Path of Exile's September expansion, we're planning a heist.
The mark is in the rear of the dining hall.
Why should we grow our own loot when we can simply take someone else's instead? In Heist, we'll travel to the unassumingly named Rogue Harbor to meet with some very reputable folk. In the harbour, we'll be planning heists to procure valuable artifacts, reappropriate equipment for better uses, and liberate currency for exiles more needy. Of course, selfish people may try and stop us, so we'll just have to make sure that they don't notice us. We don't want them making a scene after all. And if they do, well then we'll ask them politely to let us leave with our rightful goods.
If we stick to the plan, we should have no trouble at all. If we stick to the plan.
The Rogue Harbor in Heist acts as a new base of operations where we'll be able to sell off artifacts we yoink from our heists, plan further heists, hire crew and use intel to plan even more elaborate, grand heists. There are 13 different rogues that we'll get to meet in the Rogue Harbor, each with different expertise and skill sets suited to different heists and strategies. Some of them focus on planning and arranging heists, while others can join us in the field. Field operatives have different skills such as lockpicking or demolition, and they can gain experience from working with us on successful heists. We'll even be able to provide them with better equipment to help them help us. To begin with, we'll need heist contracts and markers, the currency of the underworld. These contracts and markers can be found out in the world from monsters throughout leveling and the endgame, but they'll also be found or earned from the heists themselves. Contracts, like endgame maps, can be crafted with modifiers to make them higher risk but higher reward. In addition to regular map modifiers, there will also be heist-specific mods. Unlike maps, however, contract heists can be accessed before endgame, bringing a mapping style of gameplay to lower-level characters, something players have been asking for ZiggyD to experiment with. To embark on a heist, you'll take a contract to the Wayfarer in the Rogue Harbor. You'll also need some markers to pay for expenses and any rogues whose skills you may need to break into the facility. Once you get to the heist location, your objective will be to reach the secure vault and obtain the artifact within. As you move about, steal things, get noticed, or fight, you'll raise the alert level. If the alert level reaches max, you'll only have a short time to grab the artifact or anything else you want before the alarm is triggered and the lockdown begins. So, at first, you may want to try to be a little bit stealthy. New patrol, formation, and enemy awareness mechanics will allow players to sneak past enemies without getting their attention. Your rogue companions will be able to help you fight a little bit, but their main job is to use their skills to help you break in and make your escape. Everything that you take in a heist is considered contraband, and until you successfully make it out, they aren't really yours. Get taken out or fail to escape and you'll lose all of your stolen goods. Outside of hardcore, this is the first time where you might be able to lose something that you've picked up. While you'll only ever be dropping the contraband from the heist, it could well add a new feeling of risk and loss to failure. Imagine snatching that chase unique, but being killed just before you escape only to lose it. It somehow seems more painful than never having the item drop in the first place. Even if you haven't yet triggered the alert, smashing the artifact case will naturally set off the alarms. And that's when you have to make your daring escape, as guards will flood in and try and stop you from leaving. It might be harder to get out than it was to get in. Successfully make it out though, and all the contraband you've pocketed will be yours. You'll also be able to fence the artifact in the harbour to try and make a marker profit from the heist. Once in a while, you may be able to obtain a blueprint to plan a grand heist, the potential big score. Intel gathered from regular heists can be used to reveal parts of the blueprint to uncover wings, vaults, and escape routes. Grand heists require more planning, more rogue companions, and are more expensive to undertake. Finding more intel for the blueprint will take time, but could potentially uncover easier escape routes or more rewarding targets you can hit while there. Grand heists have multiple wings that you must make your way through, each with their own alert level and challenges. Successfully get through all of the wings and you'll be able to break into the Grand Vault. Here, there will be multiple rewards to choose from, but choose carefully, as once you take one, the rest will be locked down and you'll have no choice but to escape. Now, let's talk payment. The heist is all about the prizes you walk away with, right? The artifacts we're finding in heists are just a means to the end, fence them for markers to fund bigger heists. But it's the real loot we're after here, and it turns out there is a crazy amount of new stuff to find in Heist. In the game's lore, there is only one copy of each unique item. They are unique. Because of their prized nature, experimenters have sought to create replicas of these legendary items with varying levels of success. Replica uniques are a new type of unique item that are based on the originals, but are a bit different. Take this Iron Commander knockoff that scales with strength rather than dexterity, and affects shrapnel ballista rather than siege ballista. Not only are replicas like this a bit of a twist on existing uniques, but they also potentially create new builds or ways of building characters around these items. Another example is this Replica Ambu's Charge, which gives significantly better endurance charge generation, but causes you to lose life rather than to regenerate it. Greater power than the original, but also a new drawback. These two examples show two ways that these replica uniques will differ from their originals, but there will be plenty more to see in the weeks to come, since there are going to be around 100 new replica uniques to steal from wings in the grand heists. The experimentation did not stop with the uniques though. Experimented base types are new item bases that provide much more specific and niche benefits to certain builds, like for example the Solarine Bow that trades off physical damage for fire damage for elemental or ignite focused bow builds. There will be one new experimented base type for each weapon class, and several new types of jewelry to find in the grand heists. Further experimentation has been done on gems, and in Heist you can find gems with alternate quality bonuses. Around 900 gems with a twist in fact. That's around 1 to 3 different variants per skill and support. Some of the new quality benefits will be niche changes for certain builds, and others might be quite a bit better than the normal quality bonus. But wait, there is even more weird stuff coming our way. In Grand Heists, we'll also be able to find weapons and body armor with brand new enchantments. Being enchantments, these don't take up the implicit slot and can exist alongside of them. Many of these focus around scaling modifiers on the items themselves, making for some powerful new potential. The top end power level of some of these is quite high, so some do have drawbacks, such as this mace that scales physical modifiers on the item, but greatly increases the attribute requirements. These items and some others in Heist are using a new system being tested in the lead up to Path of Exile 2, where they are much more likely to drop with good affixes, sockets, and links, as if they were crafted a bunch of times with the best result being kept. So in addition to potentially being a powerful item base, it means that it's much more likely that they'll be usable or even good when you find them. Of course, in addition to all of this, there will also be some new uniques to find in Heist, such as Corpse Walker, boots that create corpses wherever you step, a true red carpet experience. Another new unique will be Chains of Emancipation, a belt that curses you with temporal chains when you get hit, but generates rage when you get rid of the curse. But once again, wait, that's not all, for there will be some other new things to loot and steal in Heist as well. For the first time since release, a new equipment slot has been added to Path of Exile in Heist, Trinkets. This dedicated slot allows you to specialize in improving your Heist rewards in different ways, such as having additional divination card drops, converting regal orbs to exalted orbs when they drop, or making some items drop corrupted. Most of these modifiers are focused on changing loot in Heist themselves, though some may extend beyond somewhat, such as the increased marker drop from monsters that we see on one of these items here. As trinkets drop corrupted, they cannot be crafted, and finding a few good ones could prove an interesting way to focus on boosting different rewards. Obviously here with the theme of heisting loots, the loot had to be pretty interesting, so ZiggyD has made a lot of new options in addition to the regular rewards the game tends to offer. The risk of losing contraband items alongside of the chance to select one of several items from Grand Heist means that the loot can be pushed to higher qualities than normal. It's good to mention as well that almost everything in Heist is tradable, from contracts to markers to filled out blueprints, so there should be a lot of possibility to tailor your Heist experience to your tastes. Because you can also hoard markers and contracts, it'll be possible to engage with the League when you want to as well, without running into situations where you're forced to interrupt what you're currently doing. ZiggyD also wants to note that they've made extra effort here to ensure that Heist works well in party play, which has taken a bit of a backseat in some recent leagues. Aside from the League itself, Heist also brings new additions and improvements to several skill categories. The first is curses. With the addition of various means of casting curses, there ended up being no real reasons to manually handcast them. Without harming these other methods of cursing, ZiggyD is interested in providing some valid reasons to cast a curse yourself. Firstly, now when you cast a curse directly, it will grow in intensity over time, providing some pretty tangible benefit to those curse, cast speed, AoE, and duration nodes on the tree. Various curses have been tweaked and improved overall, and there will also be several new gems that interact with curses, such as the impending Doom support. This new support gem causes cursed enemies to explode when the supported curse ends, whether by monster death or otherwise. In the footage, for example, the player is actually overriding the supported curse with another curse to remove it, thus triggering the explosion. Now, the category of steel skills, lancing and shattering steel, were added all the way back in Betrayal, bringing with them Impale as a mechanic. Since then, while Impale has become very popular as a mechanic, the skills themselves see a bit less attention overall. In Heist, lancing and shattering steel are being reworked, and 2 new steel skills are being added to expand this steel archetype. Steel skills will still impale, but they now also benefit from a new shard mechanic. Call of Steel is a new skill that is granted by all steel skills for free as a bonus extra skill, and it allows you to conjure swords from the ground that burst into shards that follow you around. Shards work as bonus ammunition for steel skills, providing benefits depending on the skill itself. Shards can also impale into enemies, and Call of Steel will burst these shards from the enemies as well, causing damage in the process. One of the new steel skills is Splitting Steel, which consumes a shard to fire a main projectile that explodes on impact into smaller projectiles, which can then generate further explosions. Lancing Steel's rework allows it to use shards from Call of Steel to create a lingering turret to fire upon enemies, lasting longer the more shards that are used. We'll also be seeing some spell reworks and new spells focused around the idea of providing powerful effects when used alongside other abilities. They're aimed at helping players that have to stand still to do damage by providing powerful offensive and defensive boosts in a specific location. Flame Wall, for example, creates a wall of fire that deals damage over time to enemies that try to move through it, providing you some defense against approaching enemies. However, it also sets any projectiles fired by you and allies on fire, causing them to deal extra fire damage and burn enemies. Projectile-based builds will be able to create a wall to both zone enemies and enhance projectiles they fire through, providing extra benefit to players making good use of positioning. I think I've personally saved the best for last though. Void Sphere is a literal black hole. Once placed, it begins sucking in enemies, grouping them up and damaging them. Enemies that die near a void sphere will be completely absorbed, leaving nothing behind. While it doesn't affect unique bosses for obvious reasons, it should provide some very powerful benefits in grouping up monsters, controlling an area on the map, and preventing monsters from leaving dangerous corpses behind. Also, it looks super dope. And there we have it for now. I hope you've enjoyed my first look at Heist. There's a ton of stuff for ZiggyD to tease us with over the coming weeks, with hundreds of gems, enchantments, and replica uniques to show off. I'll be sure to update you with the best of the new league as I can. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.
Stop! You violated the law. Pay the court a fine or serve your sentence. Your stolen goods are now forfeit.